Looking to become a firefighter, you're in the right place. I'm going to tell you exactly what it takes to become a firefighter. I'll guide you along the entire process from the application right to the final interview. I'll give you tips on the application form, how best to prepare for the fitness and strength tests. I'll give you tips and advice on the confined space, working from height tests, and even right through to how to ace the final interview. So to get started, potentially the toughest part is the application. So the application itself is so tough because you've got such a huge amount of competition. There's potentially thousands of people applying for however many vacancies are going for the brigade that you're applying for. So you need to make sure you stand out. So to do this, the best thing to do is set aside and dedicate as much time as possible just to the application itself. To give yourself the most amount of time for this, what I recommend you do, if the brigade you're applying for has a notification system, then sign up to that. So you'll get an email as soon as the application portal opens. Now, if they don't have that, then it's going to be a case of checking the website as regularly as possible, even daily. Back when I was applying, I was checking every day, if not twice a day. So you'll be checking the website regularly, and don't forget to check the socials. They may post on the Facebook or Instagram. So keep your eyes on the socials, they may also post it up on there. So start as early as possible, sign up to the notifications, and don't just get it done in a day. Give yourself as much time as possible, make a note of when the deadline is, and do it right up until the deadline. So get it as early as possible, send it in as late as you can to give yourself as much time as possible in between. Dedicate that time to the application because you really need to stand out with such a big amount of competition. If there is also a competency framework that they deliver alongside it, so they may have extra attachments. If they give you the firefighter framework or the character framework that they're looking for, make sure you read through that. Read through that properly because that's going to be what they're looking for in your answers. They're going to be basing their questions and wanting you to answer them based on those attachments that come with it. So read through that and try and base your answers to include the characteristics that you can see from the paperwork, probably attachments that they've given you that they're looking for. So with your application sent and you put in as much time and dedicated the hard part of the work into that, next will be the online assessment. So you can also, it's one thing to note because it took me by surprise 1 year, is you can actually have online tests put into the application itself. So the online assessments can happen during or shortly after the application process. So firefighters are required to have a GCSE level of C in maths and English, which I believe now is a grade 4, or a functional skills level 2 qualification in maths and English. However, some brigades, if you don't have that qualification, they can still take you on under the provision that in your probationary period, you still get your functional skills level 2 ticked off. So that can be through the apprenticeship if you're going up on an apprenticeship first. You can also get tested on mechanical, behavioural and judgment scenario-based questions as well. So they can also be chucked in there. I didn't have them, but I applied a few years ago, but they can also be chucked in there now. Make sure you have really good knowledge of EDI for the application part, plus also for further down the line. So make sure your EDI, equality, diversity and inclusion knowledge is top tier. Make sure you know all about the Equality Act 2010 because you could be asked to answer questions or even write a short essay to do with EDI. The reason for that is all UK fire services are driven to improve their equality and diversity. So having a really good understanding and being knowledgeable and supportive of that is crucial when it comes to applying for the fire service. So you put all that hard work into those stages. Hopefully it's successful at this point and you've gone on to the next one, which will be your PreJoining fitness test. So the PreJoining fitness test could be either a static bike Covox test, a treadmill test, stepper, or a bleep test. Generally it's a bleep test because they can test multiple people at one time, and it's a good way to base yourself to see whether your current level of fitness is going to make the cut for the fire service. So the level you need to get to is the 8th shuttle of the 8th level. And to test yourself now, if you want to see where you're at, you can download the 20-meter bleak test on Spotify or YouTube. Test yourself, see where you're at. I highly recommend getting yourself above that level so it's easier on the day when you do actually go and get tested. So if the next stage is successful, you'll be moving on to the point of entry selection test. So that's going to be a half a day or a full day, depending on how many people have turned up in that cohort. And it's going to have multiple different stations that you're going to be taking part in. So you'll have the equipment carry test, which is a 25-meter course where you'll be expected to carry out various different tasks, and you are timed as well, and you'll have to pull out a hose reel from the fire engine, carry a 25-kilogram barbell in front of your body, carry 2 rolled lengths of hose, drag a dummy casualty, and also carry hard suction and a suction strainer in this 25-meter course. You will also be wearing full fire kit. You'll be wearing full fire kit for all of the tests on this day. So the type of training I suggest doing leading up to this is adopting a hybrid training style. So strength and fitness, because you're going to be required to be fit to get through all of this, but you're also going to be required to be strong. 25-kilogram barbell might not be that heavy to you. It might be heavy to you at this stage, or it might not. But take into account that you're going to be wearing full fire kit. Full fire kit is very hot. It's designed to keep it's designed to keep heat out, but it's also by default going to be keeping a lot of heat in. So bear that in mind. You're going to get hot quick. You're going to fatigue quick, and even just a 25-kilogram barbell out in front of you when you're already fatigued and you're doing your shuttles up and down this course can get quite heavy quite quick, and you can start to ache. You'll also be expected to carry out a leg lock on a ladder. So it'll be a 13.5 meter ladder where you'll climb up to about 3/4 of the way. You'll take a leg lock and you'll lean back, and you'll carry out a simple task like look over your shoulder and shout out how many fingers an instructor is holding up on the drill ground. This is just to test your level of fear of heights and to check that you're comfortable doing that. The leg lock itself, it isn't difficult to do. They will show you at the base of the ladder before you ascend how to do it. So you'll also be doing a ladder extension. So again, 13.5 meter ladder. You'll be extending it by pulling on the extension line till it gets to the top, and then lower it again. What we're looking for is 1, your ability to actually lift it, and 2, for you to keep it under control, and that's going to require a lot of grip. So obviously you'll be using your back and your biceps for this one because of the pulling motion and keeping it all under control. So it's your lats and your biceps. So I suggest lat pull down exercises and working on your arms as well. But you are going to be relying heavily on your grip for this one. You're going to be wearing gloves as well, so you're going to be losing a bit of grip through that. One thing I recommend if you are struggling with the grip aspect of this on the day is when you're pulling on the line, especially when you're lowering it back down again, put a bit of a twist in. So if you twist your wrists, grab the line, give it a bit of a twist, it's going to add friction, it's going to make the grip that little bit easier for you, and that could potentially help you on the day if you are struggling with the grip aspect. Another thing you'll be doing is what's called the rat run. So the rat run is a small cage that you'll climb into. It's going to be pitch black. You're not going to be able to see anything. Going through the entrance, come out through the exit. Sounds simple, but when it's pitch black and you've got to climb through small spaces and turn and find these gaps, you can get yourself lost. You can get to a point where it's a dead end. There's nowhere for you to go. If that does happen to you, don't worry. Just stop, take a deep breath, calm, and collect yourself and go back on yourself, because all you've done is you just missed something. So go back, find that little doorway that you missed to the side, or the gap above your head that you missed. So go back on yourself, feeling all the walls, feeling above you until you find what you've missed, get your way out. It is timed, but you've got a decent amount of time in there. The main thing you need to do is stay calm. And the final thing you'll be doing is the dexterity test. Dexterity test is a piece of equipment. It's an old school piece of fire service equipment that you'll be assembling. It'll be laid out on a table in front of you, and you'll just have to assemble it following the instructions that are going to be on a board in front of you. It's not complicated. You are timed and you'll probably be wearing fire gloves. All you've got to do is just follow the instructions that are in front of you with the pieces of equipment that correlate to the pictures on the instructions. The main thing you want to do is, you are timed, but you want to stay calm, because if you rush, you're probably going to cross thread something, then you're going to go into even more of a panic and you're going to spiral and you run out of time. I recommend just calmly assemble the piece of equipment, read through it methodically, and get the piece of equipment assembled, and then unscrew it all, put it back exactly the opposite way that you did it, and put everything back where you found it, and that will be the job done. So all of that done, hopefully at this point, again, you're successful, you move on to the final stage, which will be the interview. Now the interview is probably the most dreaded part of everything, because you'll be being interviewed by a panel of interviewers. You will be required to dress smartly to this, so dress smart. I also recommend downloading that brigade's appearance standards and abiding by those. So download that. It may also be an add-on to that when they send you the invitation to the final interview. Make sure you read through that and abide by that. Turn up early. I recommend turning up about 15 minutes early to the interview. Make sure you're early, make sure you sat down ready and waiting for when they call your name to go through to the interview. Remember your answers from your application. You may get asked questions based on your application answers while you're in there. They do have access to that. And make sure, again, you demonstrate good EDI knowledge. So remember all of the stuff you learned for your application part. Remember it, brush up back on it again, because you're probably going to get asked questions to do with EDI for your final interview. If, like the brigade I applied for, they like you to deliver your answers in the STAR format. So STAR format is delivering your answer in the format of the following: situation, the task, the action, and the result. There is nothing wrong with you turning around in that interview and laying it out as simply as this when you deliver your answer. Okay, the situation was, the task I had at hand was, the actions I took to achieve that task was, and the end result was. Laying it out like that structures it to keep it simple and easy for you to answer the question in the first place, but it also lays it out and makes it easy for the interviewer to mark off what you're saying rather than having to read between the lines. And another main bit of advice I would give is prepare various answers to the different criteria. So you might get a document sent to you in your interview pack, in your invitation for the final interview, of the framework that they're looking for. So the criteria that they're looking for a pass in the interview, that they're looking for you to structure your answers around. The reason I say have various answers prepared for different criteria is you can have an answer prepared for a certain criteria. They ask you a question, you can see the criteria that they're aiming at, and you give your answer you have prepared for that, but your answer might not match the question. So you might have answered the question, but you've not answered their question. You've just told them the answer you had prepared, and it's not actually answered the question. If you're prepared for that and you have various answers lined up and ready, when they do ask you the question, you can pick the appropriate answer. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So like the video and subscribe to the channel. The channel will be aiming to upload 1 to 2 videos per week. It's a new channel, it's the Firefighting channel, and I'll be uploading all things fire service. So stay tuned, like and subscribe.